All right, welcome back to the TNEC cast. I'm your boy Shuff with the Weapon K. And you see, we got some other people with us on the screen today. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But welcome back, episode 32. Thank you for rocking with us. And we almost forgot the housekeeping last week, so I'm going to get the housekeeping out the way. Like, comment, subscribe. Please, please, please. We want to keep growing. I'm going to touch on it a little bit more, but we're listening to what you guys are asking for. So this is direct from the comment section. So that's really cool that we're able to do this, and we have these people, at arm's reach. So, Kay, how you feeling today?
I am chilling, man. Per usual, man. I'm ready to get into this conversation because, like you said earlier, this is something that I'm ignorant to. You know what I mean? So first question, we're gonna go with we're gonna do some intro real quick. Yeah, how rude of me.
DK, he's just so excited.
Let's go.
Jump in. So real quick, I just want to talk about this past weekend, San Antonio Alamo Showdown. We had a great showing. Touch on the highlights. Everybody placed, which was pretty cool. Sean won her pro card, so that was awesome. Be there for that. Parita got her check, so now she's, like we always like to say, now she's official pro. Because she got the check. Darius, he stepped in for me. I was supposed to do the show. Darius stepped in and stepped up. Another tough pro men's physique class. Just missed the top 5. I didn't look at the scoring, but I'm sure it was a very close score, just like Super Show was. Yeah, so he did magnificent. And then we had Aaron. He got second in his novice class to the guy that actually ended up winning overall and getting his pro card. So San Antonio was amazing for us. We still got some smatterings of things, so the season isn't fully over for us yet. But we have a lot of things coming up. But we'll talk about that next show because we have some guests that I would like to introduce. So always, we go ladies first. We have Jacqueline Costello joining us from the lovely East Coast. She is a pro vegan bodybuilder. She's she does in the NFF, she does bikini and athletic. We actually, the three of us, I don't know if it's going to be the right way, competed at a Super Show together. So that was the first time I got to meet Jacqueline in person. Then we competed at the Legacy Classic a month later as well. So she came down to Texas twice, to come compete. So she's told me you got to get something out, my way. So we're gonna work on that. We're gonna work on that. But a vegan bodybuilder with muscle. She does not look like a marathon runner. So go to her Instagram and you will see, that what's possible, on that vegan side. And then our other guest, one of our teammates, one of the people I'm extremely proud, the coach, my boy Courtney, and you may know him as Mr. Extraordinaire, aka I never wear pants, only wear shirts.
Never wear pants. Never wear pants.
And I had to make sure I had my extraordinary athletics, so make sure
appreciate that.
You tap in with that. Jaclyn, if you had some gear, I would put the hat on or something like that. So if you got something, I love to support small business. But anyway, so Courtney and I actually we've known each other for a while, but we actually competed together in 2019. That was the first time we competed together. It was my first show. I think he was like his second or third, right?
Yeah, second show.
Something like that. And then Courtney's like, man, I'm going to come over to this natural side and doing things natural. I'm vegan. Reached out to me, knew I coached. Man, this dude has done nothing but make me proud. First natural show, won that pro card here in Dallas. Then he went down to Austin at the Super Show, brought us home a pro win against a strong class. So this is who we're talking to. So we're talking to two pros, two accomplished athletes that are vegans, that bodybuild, that don't eat meat. They get their protein from other, and we're going to, dive into that. So Jacqueline, I'm going to toss it to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then Courtney, tell us a little bit about you. And then Kay's going to ask that first question, and we're going to be off to the races.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me and inviting me. So I've been vegan for 4 years now, and I've been competing for about 6. And my first show was actually the Alamo Showdown. That one was a ton of fun. Yes, it was fantastic. And I got my pro card there. So I was not vegan for my first 2 seasons competing. I was pescatarian. And then my second season, I was vegetarian. And then from then on, I've been vegan. but I work as a fitness instructor, personal trainer. I do posing coaching, all of those fun things. I love the bodybuilding world. I'm an athlete rep for ANBF. They're a little bit more East Coast based. And then of course I do love to still travel back to Texas for NFF and now GBO. And it's just there's so much enjoyment in meeting all the other natural athletes. And it really does feel like family when you get to go and be with them and see them again, and all of the hard work and effort that's put into natural bodybuilding. It's something that I just really love and admire.
Cool. Thank you. Hey, that's great. That's great. That's what we want to know. That's what we want to know. All right, Mr. Extraordinaire.
Mr. Extraordinaire. Yeah, my name is Courtney Young. Also plant-based bodybuilder. I'm not as cool as Jacqueline here. So I still eat a little bit of eggs or whatever, but competing wise, I think we've been competing for 3 years. Done 3 NPT shows and 2 NFF shows. Just wanted to get a feel for the industry and see, how it is in NPC. And then when I met Isaac, like, yo, there's a natural division too, or naturally. I was like, all right, well, let's move in that and let's see what's going on. Since the whole point of being plant-based or vegan is about your health, so you want to be healthy about it. Since we're in the fitness industry, why not something that's actually natural for your body, like how the food we eat? So that was the goal for me, and that's why I jumped into it. It's been fun, and I'm looking forward to continuing it.
Awesome. Thank you, Courtney. All right, okay, so you got the first question. Let's
go with Courtney first. So what was that deciding moment to make that switch to a plant-based diet?
Health-wise, man. Yeah. I mean, we in the gym, we're banging our body all the time. We're shoving down all this meat, and that inflammation just carries on. You feel in your joints, you feel in your tendons most specifically. And I was having so many problems. It's like, I don't know how to get this pressure off my joints. And I did a little bit of research, and I saw a couple of documentaries, What the Health, how to be a vegan, how to go vegan in 10 days, something like that. And it kind of shows you the information that you don't really see in the public. So after watching that and experimenting, now I guarantee you it's a little bit of tricky when you first start, because you have to figure out what to eat and how to compensate per your body weight, per your protein weight, what you need to consume. So once you figure that plan out, it becomes very beneficial. My energy increased, my inflammation went away, my joints feel better. Like, I got more energy. Or we doing 4 sets? No, we doing 6, 7, you know what I'm saying? Like, I got a lot of energy, why not keep going? So just in that aspect, it has improved me health-wise and just makes me feel a lot better, man.
That's good to hear. What about you, Jacqueline? What was that documentary that you watched and you were just like, yes?
Yes, actually, we watched What the Health as well. And I was actually, I had my son right after my first bodybuilding competition. So we got pregnant, and then after having him and the joys of motherhood and breastfeeding and all of those fabulous things, really kind of solidified for me more, to me, breast milk is for humans and cow's milk is not. It's for baby cows, right? Right. And so that was just kind of, experiencing that myself was something that solidified that for me. I know you said you still eat some eggs or whatever and stuff like that. And I was definitely in that mode. I think we had watched What the Health, and I was like, they didn't say anything was bad about egg whites. I'm gonna keep those in my diet. And so I think I definitely went a full year, and I had egg whites and all sorts of stuff. But so I we very slowly transitioned to veganism, and just first stopped buying certain things, and then. When I learned the different ways that I could incorporate, vital wheat gluten, seitan, tofu, and, all the different higher protein vegetable or grain sources into my diet, and still hit my macronutrient goals, I was like, okay, I don't need egg whites anymore. I realized I can do this. It just takes a little bit. There's a learning curve for sure.
Sure. Yeah.
So, quick question. I know we said 2 questions each. What was the hardest food to get rid of, Courtney? Or was it
Hardest
just a
food?
smooth transition?
Well, I mean, since we're all competitors here, so it's more like prep. So since you're already prepping your food, and you kind of keep yourself in that balance of, you're eating these certain things, because we're eating to make gains. We're not really eating for flavor.
Yeah.
But I guess in the general world, I think they say chicken is the hardest to get rid of because it's almost in every meal you can eat. So, you can't have wings, you can't have grilled chicken no more. You can't get the chicken sandwich no more. So you just have to play with it. I mean, there's substitutes. Obviously, you can do the mushrooms. You can do the seitan, like she was saying. You can do the tofu, like she was saying. It's just a transition process. So I tell people when they're trying to go plant-based or vegan, just slowly take out one meat substitute a month and just go down. Get this beef. Please start with the beef. Take the beef out first. Go down to the chicken. You can finish with the fish. Take out the eggs. Because if you go fast, you're likely to mess up, or you're likely to get sick. So you don't want to push your body that far with something that's new, because your body will kind of reject it. So it's kind of like a transition process. And that's kind of that's the best way to do it instead of going cold turkey. So.
Right. What about you, Jacqueline?
Yeah. So I was pescatarian, vegetarian, which means I didn't eat meat for a very long time. I think like 10 years now, that I first kind of cut meat out of my diet, I guess. And so to me, the most challenging thing, I think, was more like dairy, cheese. I mean, in bodybuilding terms, it was the egg whites, because I was like, this is where I'm getting all my protein from. But in terms of like things that I just enjoyed eating, yeah, it was probably cheese, but there's so many alternatives out there. And I make all my own like tofu, cheese, sauces, dressings, and things like that. And you can really make anything. You can make tofu taste like anything, as long as you add the right seasonings and prepare it the right way.
Seasoning is key.
Seasoning is key.
Man.
So before I ask my question, we're gonna hit you up for TNEC on demand, because we give a recipe every week. So don't worry, we're not going to take credit like we did it, but we'll make sure that we give you full credit and everything. But we want to get a couple of those recipes, because I know we have people that are either looking to experiment or things like that. So we would love to be able to share a recipe, so that way they could learn more about how veganism, or even going to vegetarian, can help them out in their life and have some options. So my question, Jacqueline, we'll start with you. What pushback did you receive? Because I know typically, when you make a big life change, the people in your inner circle, whether it be your family, people you work with, start asking a lot of questions and start saying, well, why are you doing that? Because like, look, we all experienced why are you going into bodybuilding? Why are you doing everything like that? So tell us what it was like when you first started telling people, making your switch, whether you want, and you can start as far back as 10 years ago when you went vegetarian, pescatarian.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely, jokes, pushback, that kind of thing. And I think it was more so just kind of like a learning opportunity for a lot of people. But we definitely did get, some negative response, because myself and my husband and son were all vegan. So whenever we go to family gatherings, it's, the comments.
Well, you can't eat this because you're vegan.
Yeah, exactly. But what's funny is like all the vegan food goes first, and we're like, hey man.
Exactly. But
I mean, because it's not just meat on a grill or whatever. It's something that's prepared with a lot of flavor and intention. But yeah, I think the family would be the only pushback. I definitely don't try and force veganism on other people, but I get asked all the time. And I mean, where do you get your protein is probably the biggest one, which is just so funny. I'm like, I'm a bodybuilder, y'all know I eat protein, right? Because, and I think it's kind of funny how it's like the reverse too, because when you become a bodybuilder, people are like, oh, you're eating too much protein, right?
Yep.
And then you're a vegan bodybuilder and they don't know what to say. And they're like, well, are you getting enough protein as a bodybuilder, or are you getting too much protein? So
Right.
So I will just ask a quick follow-up question. So you said you and your husband, you know, and then obviously your son now, you're all vegans together. When you first started out, did you and your husband, what was that like? Did you guys do it at the same time, or did one of you start and the other one? Like how was that?
yeah, so when I first met my husband, I was pescatarian and he was definitely a carnivore. And actually, he had testicular cancer back in 2013. Yeah. And so after that, he decided to stop eating meat, you know, knowing that it's a carcinogen and cancer causing agent. So that's when he stopped eating meat. And then, I mean, he wasn't really eating very much anyways, because when I would cook, you know, yeah. So, but then we did both decide to go vegan together. And it's been pretty easy in terms of that. I do know some couples, married and not, that one's vegan, one's not, and they kind of just adjust to each other's needs and eat vegan sometimes and then have different meals other times.
Okay. Well, that's a good thing, because, you know, with bodybuilding and having significant others, you know, I mean, you do see couples that bodybuild together, but we all, like, I mean, we've seen the whole spectrum. So, you know, that can put a strain, because you got one person that's in prep and cranky because they don't have carbs.
Yeah.
So they don't.
He's eaten one of my meals before and been in big trouble.
That's a big
Yeah.
no. So, all right, so Corey, I'm gonna ask you the same question. And so you know, here we keep it very, you know, real and raw. Us Black folks, if you say you're vegetarian or vegan, they think something wrong with you. You know? So, Courtney, what was your experience like when you started letting people know, and when you made your decision that you were going to go vegan, plant-based?
It's simply the same thing, man. Where you get your protein from? How does this work? Because I'm not, you know, obviously I'm a little thicker, so they're like, I'm confused. Yeah, you don't eat any meat? I was like, yeah. What you eat, about 4 or 5 steaks a day? I was like, no, I don't eat meat. And then there's a pause of confusion. There's like, but what do you mean you don't eat any meat? Yeah, I don't eat any meat. I'm plant-based. And then it goes into this deep conversation of how, you know, it's benefit for your health and how you plan it out. But it's all about the transition process. And they be telling family or friends, you know, where do you get your protein from? And well, it's the same place that the animals get their protein from. It's the same effect. We're just getting it secondhand. But if you go straight to the source, you know, you cut out the middle person and all the chemicals and everything that they get the animals. So it is a process, you know, and it's kind of a awakening thing. And I think more people are kind of coming into it. Another good documentary is Game Changers. They talk a lot about that and how it improves your health and your performance athletically. But as always, there's change, and sometimes people are defiant from change. But if you just slowly educate yourself, just replace one meal, vegan or plant-based, and try that out. And it's not that bad. I mean, it's like you eating greens and beans and candy yams, and like it's you know, it's vegetables. It's your regular dishes. You can just substitute one little ingredient and boom, it's plant-based, and you ain't even know about it. And you'll be fine. I'll hold your hand. We can go through it together. Me and you together, we'll make it happen. But that's just kind of been my process. I give tips and advice as much as I can. I'll give them a quick tutorial meal of how many cups of beans or protein or lentils or tofu you need to get your protein content for that day. Sub in your carbs and your veggies. You got yourself a plant-based meal or vegan meal, depending on what you're doing. So it just requires a little bit more creativity. But other than that, it's fine. And seasoning, man, if you ain't got the seasoning.
Well, I mean, even in terms of bodybuilding, I know you're talking about like eating for fuel versus for flavor, but honestly, I think that a lot of the bodybuilding community has gone more towards eating for that satisfaction and that flavor, and just finding healthy alternatives and ways to adjust and change things. And it's kind of the same as that. Like, I became a much better cook when I started bodybuilding. And then also when I became vegan, you just learn how to do things a little bit differently, different substitutes that you can use. And there's so many different options, and you can make a healthy Alfredo pasta dish, right? Versus the heavy cream-based version, which isn't going to help you reach your goals.
No.
So to make that transition into bodybuilding, more specifically prep, Courtney, how's that process? You know, are you just giving it up to your coach, or you guys are working together into being like, yo, these are my limitations, this is da 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 da?
Yeah. Well, since it's still typically new to most people, the majority of the public, I just tell, so like say Isaac's on prep this week. Say, hey, prep, just give me my macro count and all that stuff, and I can calculate the numbers and I know how to figure it out. Because it's almost the same, you know what I mean? The 5 ounce of chicken breast, okay, cool. 5 ounces, that's about 45 grams. Okay, cool. That's about, depending on what protein, if you're doing tofu, that's probably, I think, a cup of tofu. If it's black beans, it's probably a cup and a half. If it's kidney beans or if it's adzuki beans, it's 1 cup. Like, that's 45 grams of protein in 1 cup of beans, opposed to you eating a 5 ounce, 6 ounce chicken fillet or breast milk or whatever it is. Like, so the numbers are there. You just have to figure out, you have to do a little bit of research to figure out the actual numbers, and you just match it up and you're going. But it's almost the same thing as you're going to the grocery store. I think being on prep and being plant-based and it just in general has made people more aware of what they're buying, because you really have to pick that bag up, turn it over, and see what we're doing. Opposed to you just, oh yeah, let me go pick up 2 bags of chicken and we gonna go to the house and wrap it up. But you really have to calculate everything. And I think it helps the world in general be more aware of what they're consuming. And then we can push back on, just for meat eaters, the chemicals you guys are putting in it. Because as you're reading, you're like, oh, what is that? Like, I've never seen that before. And you become more aware. So I think it's very beneficial for everyone in general to actually be on prep. So maybe everybody should be on prep.
Yeah, send it. Courtney for president.
And I will say something that Courtney brought up, because he's he's referring to me. So that's kind of like how we did it. It was very collaborative. So there were certain things that was very easy for us. The carb, starches, the veggies, that stuff was easy. It was figuring out, okay, how are we going to work this? So, when I do it, I like to give everybody options. I don't want to, to refer back to us carnivores, how we're, it's chicken breast, broccoli, and rice, or, we still, because it was
forever.
Because we've all of us on here have been through, multiple preps now. So we've figured out, okay, you can actually enjoy the food. You don't have to feel guilty for it tasting good and everything like that. So you start to figure out the different things. But that's what we did. We literally, on the protein side and just making sure we were inside of the calories, that's what we did. We figured it out. It was very collaborative because I knew what we needed to hit, and I knew Courtney knew what to do in order to hit it. And boom, I mean, you see, pro show win. So it worked.
And that's just all of experience. I mean, and like I said, when you first start, there's a little rough patch, but you're trying to figure out what to calculate. So you really have to have a pen and paper. You're calculating these numbers, you're calculating the proteins. And then as you continue to go in your process, it becomes easier. Now you can, on top of your memory, you're like, oh, okay, I got you. 5 ounces. Okay, that's about a cup of black beans. Okay, that's, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's just a process. So that's all it is.
Gotcha. What about you, Jacqueline?
So I've done flexible dieting and, macro calculating for all of my preps versus I don't want to call it meal planning, but, kind of more of that generic, this amount of carbs, this amount of, and I've not actually had a coach outside of myself. I've done all my own prepping and coaching in terms of calculating what amount of carbs, fats, proteins to take in and what works best for my body. I have found that it has adjusted from, being pescatarian to being completely vegan in terms of the amounts of fats or carbs that works best for me and my body. And I think that's kind of true for anyone as well. You kind of have to, adjust as you need based on how your body is reacting and performing. But yeah, in terms of calculating, I think I use My Plate, MyFitnessPal, any of those are really helpful for that. And you can put in, the numbers and get your results that way. And I agree, everyone should count their macros for like a solid month and just realize what they're putting in their body. You don't have to do it for life, but it is definitely something that people don't realize. Oh, wow, that's a tablespoon of peanut butter. And Well, I mean, we've all done it. A spoonful of peanut butter. It's delicious. It's fantastic. It's definitely more than 200 calories.
Right.
Say it again, buddy. You got a new gi. Yay. Sorry. My son's going to jiu-jitsu.
That's awesome.
Do you want to come say hi to everybody? Come here.
I don't want
We definitely not editing that out either.
Right? What you got, Isaac?
So my question is a two-part question. So, I'll start with Jacqueline. So, what would you say is your biggest struggle with being vegan in bodybuilding, and what would you say is your biggest benefit?
I don't have a real struggle. Okay. So going out to like a restaurant with family, friends, things like that on prep, like obviously we don't really do that, but I think that being vegan, you can't be like, oh, give me chicken that's, nothing on it, dry, whatever, or give me this amount of salmon, dry, nothing on it, whatever. Realistically, you're going to be getting a bunch of sides being vegan unless you go to a vegan restaurant, in which case you're still not going to be prep friendly. So things like that, like I know when I was pescatarian, I could go and be like, oh, I'll have the green beans dry, the salmon dry, nothing on it. And I was good to, or in like a sweet potato, whatever, right? And I could go out with, family or friends and still stay on track in terms of that. So I think that would probably be the biggest struggle. But again, not really something that I run into a lot because I don't tend to go out while I'm on prep. And then the biggest benefit would be, sorry.
Does not want to
go. So the biggest benefit would be the energy, and then how I feel, just overall, so much better, so much more energy, so much. I found it easier to build muscle being vegan than it was before I was vegan.
So then, before I toss over to Courtney, I want to ask one question. I thought about this as we were talking. So we all know you have that post-show meal. What is your post-show meal?
Oh gosh, really? It depends. Whatever vegan restaurant is in the area, that sounds awesome. I'm going there. And because I do like to support, fully vegan establishments if I can. And then if we're in an area where that's not an option, one second, buddy. Okay. If we're in an area where that's not an option, then I will, can you just give him 1 minute?
You're not going to cry on the podcast.
Just be quiet. Okay, please. So then I will make my own kind of stuff back at whatever Airbnb or hotel we're staying at. I tend to make my own treats, like chocolates, and I've made homemade Snickers bars, and those are pretty awesome post-show. So just fun things like that I'll make.
Might need to put an order in for those.
Yeah, absolutely. I can do that.
Here we go. All right. So, Courtney, same question. What do you being on prep? What do you think is your biggest struggle? And then of being plant-based, and the biggest benefit.
Sometimes the biggest struggle for me being on prep can be the carbs sometimes, because as I am plant-based, I don't do a lot of tofu. I noticed if I do tofu for too many days in a week, my stomach will get upset. So I have to keep a nice little balance in between there. So to substitute that, I have to go back to beans and lentils, which has good protein, but it also has carbs in it too. So you have to be mindful of what you're doing. So usually I just, like when you say, hey man, I'm gonna do extra hour cardio for this week just to get down, just to make sure I'm tight and ready. And then as we get closer to the show, I'll jump back on the tofu just for those couple of days. I'm not eating that much anyway. It's just more, restricting everything and keeping it balanced. But like I said, the process is different for everybody. Like your bodies have to adjust first. So that's why I always encourage people to take a slow process to take out the meat, or if you're just doing you want to be flexitarian. I mean, basically we're all flexitarian, you know, we eat meat, we eat, you know, veggies. Just try to have a good balance in between, so you're not, you know, doing too much meat, because it does, you know, increase that inflammation. So just taking out one dish a day and you'll be fine. But for me on prep, yeah, it was just a little carbs for that time, because I'm tofu intolerant, so I have to kind of find that eating ground. But favorite meal, since I am plant-based, man, sometimes I go for that good old egg white omelet. So good. You know what I'm saying? It's so good. Other than that, man, just a nice hearty salad. But you know, my salads are different. You know, we got chickpeas, we got lettuce, we got tomatoes, you got almonds, you got avocado in there. You know what I mean? Like, throw it all in there and put some nice little dressing on there. We're good to go. I'll be a happy camper. And then we're going out for drinks. You know, because, you know, why not? I only got one though, because I ain't ate all day, so only one drink for me and I'm done.
And
other than that, man.
And what would you say the biggest benefit, you know, on prep and being a bodybuilder that you found from being plant-based?
It's just the increased energy, man. So what it is when you consume the meat, it takes your body longer to process it, and it pulls the energy from your body that you could be using to move around to process that meat. So if you take that part out of it, your body has extra energy to increase and to move around. So for me, an hour and a half of cardio was nothing. Like, that's just like, you know what I mean? That's fine. So during prep, I don't feel my first 2 shows of prep, when we were doing the NPC shows, like, I was sluggish. I was tired. I was barely making it. But after that, when I went fully plant-based, I feel like I'm okay. Am I feeling right? Like, I feel too good to be on prep, and we're going to do the show. So the biggest thing for me, and just this, and then as you become plant-based, you learn certain little tricks and what vegetables do certain things, like beet juice and carrots. Like, beets increase your blood circulation, so that helps you. It's like a good pre-workout too. Just a tip for y'all.
I was gonna say my pre-workout is
it's beet juice. People don't like, hey, beet juice. I'm like, but beet juice is actually really sweet though. Like, if you eat it as a vegetable, it is kind of bitter, but if you drink just the juice, it's actually pretty sweet. So you just have to play with it as you get into it, you become more knowledgeable and you pick up on things like that. So just certain tips just increase you all overall. So I encourage people to be flexitarian, and then we'll try to get you to be more plant-based, and then go all the way vegan, because we want to save the planet, right? And that's the big goal of being plant-based and vegan. So that's my little tips.
So what I'm hearing as coach, I need to increase your cardio. You need to add more because you just got all this.
Oh man, I'm giving myself away. Oh, man. 2 hours. Speaking of which,
we'll make it work.
You know, I'm down for whatever. You know, we're gonna work.
That is true, though. I'll give you that. That man, he make it happen. So the results are there. So I'll let Kay ask our last question.
So we ask this to all guests who come on the podcast. What is the end goal of your fitness journey? Courtney, go ahead. You're thinking hard.
Just to inspire people, to let you know that there are other options in being bodybuilding as opposed to being meat. Like, you can be plant-based, you can be flexitarian, you can be pescatarian, you can still accomplish your goals. Just because the rule book says, you know, meat is the only protein source, it's not true. Like, it's slowly changing. So for me, going plant-based and being a bodybuilder is just to be a help image, to help people say, hey, you can accomplish your goals in a professional athlete, as a regular person, as a bodybuilder, being plant-based and vegan, and still be competitive in the world. And overall, for your health, like, it increases your blood circulation, your calories, your everything improves quickly. Like, if you're dealing with cancer, like, that helps, you know what I mean? That it heals your body, because everything from the earth naturally is made for mankind and humans. So it's natural medicine. Why go to the doctor when you can heal yourself?
Yeah. I mean,
she gets me.
It's the only thing proven to reverse heart disease. So slip that one in there. It as end goal. I mean, you know, there's no end in sight, I don't think. But to reach, as many people as you can. And my work as a fitness professional is to help other people reach their goals, reach optimal health, and well-being just overall. And then you do that via food and fitness, you know? So, and it's the things in our life that we can control, you know, there's a lot of stuff in life that we can't control, stressors and, you know, outside, toxins, things like that, stuff that's just outside of our control. But some things that we can do is we can go outside and go for a walk. We can add weight training into our lives. We can change the way that we eat and view food. You know, so those are the things that people can control in their lives. And I like to help people get there.
Well, I appreciate you guys for, you know, taking this time to talk about, you know, your lifestyles. Isaac, you got any closing thoughts?
You know, obviously, number one, thank you guys for taking out the time. Really, 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 really appreciate it. Because, and I knew this was going to happen, but I learned a lot. Even though, you know, well, I'm friends with both of you guys, but even though, you know, I coach Courtney, there's still things that I'm learning just from this conversation. So I'm hoping that, you know, our viewers took something from this as well. We're going to post their Instagrams. These are two very, very friendly people, and people that don't just talk about wanting to help, they actually will. So if you do have questions, now don't flood them and be crazy, but, you know, reach out. You know, I would love to have them back on and maybe do a Q&A. Yep, I'm putting you guys on the spot, you know, and have
sure, man. I do appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
I'd love to. Yeah, absolutely.
Because honestly, this is fascinating on a lot of levels, you know, because at the end of the day, we're all coaches. You know what I mean? There's like these different little things, because I don't want to turn somebody away because oh, I'm a vegan or I'm a this, because I want to learn and then, you know, it's great to have people that I can just literally reach out to and say, hey, I am struggling with this client athlete. Can you help me? You know, so it strengthens your network. So, you know, again, like, you know, really seriously, thank you for taking out this time. This was a freaking great episode. A great episode.
Thanks for having us, man. I appreciate it.
And honestly, I think we only scratched the surface. I really only think we scratched the surface, because I know there's going to be people that are going to see this. They're going to have a ton of questions. So please, I guess in my closing thoughts, statements, whatever, make sure if you have a question, you know, you can reach out to any of the four of us. We'll put it down here in the comments, because as you see, shout out to Sarita. This was directly, she's the one that said, I want to hear, you know, from Courtney about vegan. We reached out and said, hey, now we're going to bring Courtney on. We're going to bring Jacqueline on. So we get, you know, two people, you know, different, different backgrounds, different whatever. So that way you can get, you know, multiple perspectives on it.
Yeah. Because it's one thing to hear about it and read about it, but it's something to actually hear from a living person that's actually living it and say, hey, you know, we can compete and we can do all this thing. We can work out 6-5 days a week. Jacqueline's a mom and compete at the same time. We're not dying. We have plenty of protein. You'll be okay. You know, we're fine.
And then real quick, you hit the nail on the head. You know, we're not talking about, okay, I did it, you know, I'm walking around fine. We're talking about people that compete in a sport that is extremely physically and mentally taxing. Let me say that one more time. Extremely physically and mentally taxing. I don't care how long you've been doing it, whatever, it's going to do that. So they're showing that, hey, somebody says, oh, you're going to be and you can't perform. Wrong. These two people are, and then there's more, but I'm saying these two are showing that, you know, it's not just possible, but you can succeed and excel and reach, you know, to these highest levels. So, I mean, again, I just want to, you know, again, thank you. You know, like, comment, subscribe. Please share this with somebody if you know it's somebody that is vegan and maybe wants to come to bodybuilding and doesn't think it's possible. If you have, you know, somebody that's thinking about it, share this with them. This is some great information. You know, they gave documentaries. I think I heard a website. There's a lot of things, information that was given out to that. Now you can go take that and research on your own to see what's going to fit in with what you do. So I don't got anything else. I just want to say again, because I can't say it enough, thank you guys.
Yes, thank you.
I'm
appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And until next time, y'all take it easy. Peace.
All right, you too. Y'all be blessed.